Hi guys, welcome to my 5th devlog video for my RPG game. It's been 6 months since my last video, so a lot's happened. First thing, I have character models. I'm not wearing shoes. Yeah, I've got armor, I've got shirts. Yeah, I've got a few of them over here. There's pants, boots, gloves, and they're all skeletal meshes instead of static meshes. So if you don't know what that means, it means they actually move with the character model. Like you see, the pants are moving, the shirt is moving. You know, the way you would expect clothes to work. All of this and the character model itself weren't made by me. They were from an asset pack that I got off of the marketplace. They're better quality than anything I could have made, so yeah. This wasn't made in the asset pack, this was made by a friend named Nick. I think this is the latest version of the texture, maybe not, but yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, not a lot of coding has been done. It's been mostly visual stuff, so I've been making a lot of models. As you can see, the portal from the last video has been updated to something a little more interesting. And it's not just looks either. They make sounds, and these rings are animated. There's really not a lot here to show you, so I guess we'll move on. Anvils won't do that in the actual game, that's just so I can get portal orbs. So yeah, when I press dial, you'll see it makes sound, and it moves, and there's lights. It's all very exciting. Also, I've updated the dial device somewhat to have symbols that correspond to these symbols that are on the gate, and they're unique to each portal. So you'll see here, these are different from the other portal. It's basically the address. So yeah, we're in the first village of my open world, called Iron Valley. First thing I should probably talk about is the massive wall off in the distance. To bring you back up to speed on the setting of my game, basically a massive wall divides two civilizations. The one in the north is advanced in technology, and the one in the south is primitive and uses magic. That's the most basic explanation I can give for the setting. So we'll go on a bit of a tour of the village. So here we have the windmill. We've got AI roaming about. They all have routines. Their routines have been updated so that instead of updating 5 times a day, they update 12 times a day, so they can do a lot more in a day, and they can go to a lot more places if they want to. So these are guards. They're just generic guards. They protect the village. These two guys work at the mill. They're just having a moment. We have decorated houses, decorated with varying degrees of detail. Not all of the fireplaces have fire in them yet, which already makes this the worst game ever made, because the chimneys all have smoke coming out of them. Yeah, next thing, we've got the blacksmith here. So there's 2 blacksmiths. There's like sort of the master and the apprentice. I believe he's the master, and this guy's the apprentice. I've named them both Doric because I'm that good at naming people, and they look identical. The character models can be changed, I just haven't. I can change skin tone, hair, facial features, all of that. It's just, it's a detail I haven't gotten around to yet, because I've been busy working on larger things like houses. So I didn't model everything. Mostly, like, in all honesty, it's partially out of laziness and just in the interest of time. This video would have taken even longer to come out if I had to model everything, and if I did, you wouldn't be looking at as nicer stuff. So this blacksmith stuff here, I didn't model. I modelled these ingots though. That's one thing I can take credit for. Something that's, you know, pretty basic shape. I've got the blacksmith house. Only one guy stays here. The apprentice lives next door. But yeah, there's not a lot here. There's table, chairs, bread, bed, barrels. This guy's eyeing off his chest for some reason. It's actually lunchtime, so like at lunchtime he'll roam around his house, which is technically what he's doing. Next up, we've got the shop. So we've got this guy here, he's at the counter. Shopping doesn't actually work yet, so yeah, you go up to him, all he says is hello. You can steal his stuff, because crime isn't implemented yet either, so he'll just say hello 1,000 times while I steal all of his inventory. This is where he actually lives. He lives upstairs. Got a nice balcony, some chairs, sort of nice view of the village. I suppose I didn't really show off this part very well. This is sort of like a loading area. So, Iron Valley is like a mining town. So, like its main export would be metal, you know, ingots. So this is kind of like a processing plant, I guess. And they just make shit tons of ingots and then send them out to other villages. I guess I should talk about that. So we're not on Earth, obviously. We're actually on a moon that orbits a gas giant in a polar orbit. You might think the planet is sort of turning weirdly. It's just sort of an illusion. You notice the sun always stays on the top part of the planet. No matter how it rotates, it's because we're rotating around it. It also has moons that orbit equatorially. They're not in view right now, but yeah, every day around 8 o'clock, something pretty cool happens with that. You'll see that later in the video, because I was too late for it the first time around. So here we have the inn. Got a notice board, not made by me, that was made by Nick, so thanks for that. No one's really in here because it's daytime, but at night time a lot of the workers come in here and just sort of hang out. The bartender should be in here and he doesn't want to work anymore. I have a good idea of where he is, but we'll see him later. Guards do come in here to just sort of check out everything's alright. We do have rooms that people can stay in. They're all pretty basic. The only thing that really changes is the size of them. You know, this is the most different room because it's got a table. Yeah, pretty basic. This building has a fireplace with actual fire in it, so I've actually been bothered to do it in some buildings. These two were made by Pixel Ultimate and will actually be creatures in the game at some point. This one I actually have the assets for, but I'm just sort of waiting for an update on the texture before I actually implement it properly. And this I just received the files for tonight, so when I can be bothered to get around to it, I'll start setting that up as well. But for now, you're just going to see their heads. You'll have to wait, another 6 months for Devblog 6 before you see that. I'm kidding, it shouldn't take 6 months, it'll be, like earliest 2020. So here we've got another house which is pretty much identical to the one up the hill. So I won't wander around too much, but yeah, more or less the same. Up here we have the barracks. This is where the guards stay. There are 10 guards in the village, but only 5 of them are active at any given time. At 12 o'clock midday and 12 o'clock midnight, they will shift change. So the guards that are standing around here will start working at midnight. Right now they're just sort of hanging out, not really doing much. I'm actually really surprised they're working more or less as planned, instead of being incredibly buggy messes. This building is the same as the shop, but the interior is different because I needed more beds for them to stay in. Got another balcony. We've even got a guard up here, checking things out. Another feature that you might take for granted, but I'm actually amazed it actually works. The AI actually used doors. Like, they open them and go through them. It's incredible. I don't know how I got that to work. Well, I do, but I want recognition for that. AI used doors. So that was like a very quick run through of the village. Not too much more to talk about here. The street lights turn on whenever it gets dark. That doesn't necessarily mean nighttime. You'll see what I mean later, as long as I've timed this right. Kind of want to get this all done in one go. But we're leaving the village now. Just drink some stamina potions so I can sprint. And we're going to the actual mine that the town is sort of named for. Another sort of loading area. Like people bring out the ores. They get lifted up onto the crane and put into these bigger carts and taken into town. So these are obtainable items as well. Eventually they'll be used for crafting, but not right now. Whoa. The armors, the clothes and armor and stuff, are part of the loot table, so they do spawn in chests that will allow it. So the mine itself is actually a separate level, but through level streaming I can actually connect it to the open world without having any load screens whatsoever. But I can load it out whenever the player isn't in them, which is a pretty neat feature, which is not something I could do in CryEngine, as far as I know. The lighting is a little buggy, something I've just noticed. Ignore that. But yeah, this place is still kind of a work in progress. Like, there are details that I put in place that I sort of realized don't make sense anymore. Like, this is a mine shaft, so why would there be mushrooms in here? It's just, it'll get more detailed later on. Right now we're sort of on the way to something more interesting, so I'll probably cut ahead right now. So, a little bit of a backstory, I guess, for Iron Valley is a mining town, like I said, but a lot of the civilians aren't really happy right now because they're kind of temporarily out of the job because the mine has been closed. I say that, I walked straight in, but yeah, they're not mining anymore because they recently just started up a new mine shaft following a new ore vein, and they dug up something which caused the mine to be closed pretty much immediately. Once I actually start making quests, there'll be a quest that actually sends you down here to find out what that is. And it's this. A spooky door. You don't find those in mines. But yeah, you'll be sent down here, and you sort of get the vibe that you're not the first one to walk down these corridors. There are things here that don't quite fit into the general aesthetic. It's like they've started moving in, or someone has started moving in anyway, and started studying the place. We've got some physics objects here, not a lot. So like, this whole area is kind of like a dungeon sort of area. Like, I use that term as just, you know, any linear level within the open world, and the whole point of it is to lead to this area. If you haven't noticed the colours are off a little bit, it's because I've been experimenting with lookup tables, which change the look of the colours, which can have good results in like static images, but it's a lot harder to get it to work just from every angle. But yeah, the whole point of this area is this will sort of be a force field, and it will hold an item very important to sort of the main quest. It's not in there yet, I haven't even modelled it or even figured out how to make a force field effect, but it'll be there at some point. So for now, most of this is just for looks. Just I wanted to make it look like it had been lived in and sort of researched. So like, after it was discovered, the mine was closed down, and a bunch of sort of sciencey mage types came in and started studying the place, because they have various beliefs on what this place actually is and what it's for. Hence, like, the blackboards with random equations on it and diagrams and stuff like that, and books. If you think this place looks familiar, you probably know what it was based on. If you don't think it looks familiar, don't worry about it. If you think this is based on something you've seen before, the answer is yes. So, that's pretty much it for this level. There's no AI in it or anything. The combat, the gameplay in general, is actually going to be overhauled at some point. I'm not exactly happy with how it is now, and I've got some interesting ideas that I'd like to try out at some point, but for now I'm actually going to be focusing on mostly level design as sort of a portfolio, because level design is what I like doing the most, and I'd like to put as much work of my level design out as possible. So the open world is the priority right now, but mostly sticking to areas that would be like villages and stuff that don't have combat in them, because it's hard to design levels when you don't know what the combat is going to be like. But the level design will likely be important to the combat. So it's about 2:40 AM in game. I'm probably going to cut to the morning and show you sort of the last interesting thing, and I'll probably end the video there. so the sun has come up. Right now you probably know what's about to happen. You probably saw it in the trailer video before this. But this planet is not a skybox feature, it actually blocks the sun. And every day there's eclipses. So I'm going to go down to the town. You can see as the sun goes behind it, the light starts to dim until eventually darkness, and the streetlights turn on when this happens, and this lasts for one in-game hour. It doesn't really affect much, it's just sort of the looks right now. And, you know, I did it because I can. The whole time of day system needs work. I mean, you know, the sky isn't perfect, especially towards sunset and sunrise. And just before that, the sky gets orange way too soon. But yeah, I'm working on it. So right about now, see the sun perking out, and everything around us starts to get brighter. And then it's business as usual. I would like to, at some point, get it so the rings slightly dim the area around, but that wouldn't block the sun completely. Right now it doesn't do anything. So that's pretty much it for the tour of, you know, literally everything that I've made in this open world. There's nothing beyond this, but I'm going to aim for roughly once a month to show off what I've added to the open world. That might not be possible. Like, it ultimately depends on how long it takes to make these areas, and a month might just not be enough time, but I'm hoping to show off something at least once a month. So that's pretty much it. I'll leave you with a zoom out in the editor of this town.